We have a very exciting show this afternoon with the Women's Rugby Club as we have England international and Harlequins legend Rachael Burford joining us. Rach, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. It's great to see you, Bex.
And you, Rach, you've put me to shame. You've had an incredibly busy lockdown. Give me some insight into how you've kept yourself sane, how you've had time to do all these little ventures.
Yeah, I know. I think for some people it slowed down, but yeah, I needed to get a little bit creative with the Burford Academy, and do you know what I felt? I felt that we have to keep people engaged in the game because we don't want to lose them. So I thought, I'll put a few things together, not thinking it would actually take that much time. So I will confess, I didn't think it was going to take up as much time as it did. But yeah, I started kind of lockdown with the whole online Burford series, joining the training program, and then obviously got into a little bit deeper with the Girls Rugby Club.
So let's take it right back to February, March, when of course the world stopped. So you decided that there wasn't enough out there for girls and were still doing your Burford training, and you were doing strength and conditioning, skill sessions, all sorts. And then the Girls Rugby Club evolved from that. Did you spot a niche in the market, or what was your thinking for it?
Well, I think right from the get-go of setting up the Burford Academy, that was all about trying to do more with communities, grassroots girls that, may go on and play represented rugby, may not. But it's all about trying to generate more, get them to learn about role models within our game, get them to develop off the pitch as well. And the dream, I guess, for me was always that I wanted it to be kind of nationwide. I wanted some of the other England girls, like for example Kate Day-McLean, to lead up the north, but other players leading all around the country. And that is the dream. And I think I was never going to be able to do that solo. And I was never going to really be able to bring all of that to life on my own. So I partnered up with May Sports, and this is where the idea of the Girls Rugby Club has come alive. And we kind of started our conversations beginning of May, and then to kind of accelerate to the launch yesterday. We've put in so many hours and time, and just really trying to work out what this space needs. And like you said, there's so much more to do, and we can't just rely on clubs on their own to solve problems, or we can't rely on the RFU or World Rugby. We're so great. We're so greater if we come together, and we're a big global community to kind of share issues, share information. We will still obviously do our camps, but let's get an online platform so we can reach more. I think if anything with COVID, it has taught us that you can reach the near and the very far through a screen like this, and share knowledge, experiences, and create opportunities that potentially would never happen due to a number of external reasons. So that's where I think it's always been deep rooted in me right at the start that I wanted this to be bigger than just kind of running a few camps during half terms. I wanted it to be bigger. I wanted to make an impact. And now with the guys at May Sport, we've got a real opportunity to do that. And I just have to say, the response from yesterday was overwhelming, the amount of support that we've had. And what I really want to illustrate, that it is completely about everybody, and we need everybody to help to drive this. And it's not a solo thing. It's not me and the Girls Rugby Club. It's all of us trying to make change and grow the game as quickly and safely as possible.
And isn't it amazing when people come together, what sort of things can be achieved? Because if you think May to now, what we in September, obviously launch date, is not that long. So that is an incredible achievement to put that together. And I saw that it's a rugby club for girls by girls, but there's a global reach here. And do you think that's because, again, you learned from Zoom and everything online during lockdown, that you can reach everyone worldwide, and rugby's not just an English or British sport?
Yeah, 100%. I think I did some work with Norway over lockdown, and I know some other players. I think Jake Conkle was doing some work with Sweden. So I think it highlighted that you can reach these globally reach other teams and individuals, and the same with the Women's Rugby Pod. We're reaching across the countries. It's unbelievable. So the opportunity is there, and it's just that nobody's kind of taking the initiative to bring everybody together to kind of, like we say, we've got one purpose. We want to make this the best game. We want to bring as many people in and experts. I can only think of so many things or ideas, or bring them to life, or bring my expertise. We need so many people to really drive this.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I read, it was through your release about your Girls Rugby Club, that there's something mad, 2.7 million female rugby players worldwide. I don't even think you can put a limit on it. It can grow exponentially, can't it? Even from that.
Absolutely. And look, there's so much good work going on as well. Lots of clubs, unions are doing great initiatives. World Rugby are doing great initiatives. We just kind of want to tap onto that. You know, we want to join this movement of women's sport, but also all the great work that's going around. But there's things that are going on, you know, let's say, you know, in Asia that we don't know about that could actually really work in other parts of the world. And I think it's about trying to really bring those together, share that knowledge for that grassroots level, and see where it takes us.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as a result, there's been a massive women's sport push recently, and I think the Telegraph did a bit of a deep dive into the RFU's rules for boys and girls, and I'm sure this is part of, you've seen it, and it was something I just want to discuss with you, some of the inconsistencies in language, because I know that you've had many young girls come to you and they look up to you as obviously an England legend and Harlequins legend. But what do you make of the fact that, I'll get it word for word here so I don't get it wrong, boys are allowed to push in a scrum while girls cannot. Boys' matches are 10 minutes longer and play on a pitch almost double the size for girls. And the big one is that scrums will consist of 6 confident and competent players, and girls, they just said, they will consist of 5 players. That language, what does that do for girls, and what do you make of that, Rach?
Yeah, I think it's disappointing to see, and I think what's happened there is probably someone's come up with that process and there's maybe a reason behind it, and then nobody's looked at it again. Nobody's looked at where the game is now, how far we've moved on, the quality of coaches that you have in clubs that are able to develop their players. And yeah, I think it's disappointing, the fact, why. We need to understand why. And if there's a rational reason behind it, then okay, we back it. But I don't think there is. I mean, what is the reason? And I think things around language is so critical now and so important. Like, it can be really damaging, and it can kind of and not even intentionally, but just like reading those words, confident and competent. Well, why can't we say that about girls instead of just saying just 5 girls that are there?
Absolutely.
Let's use that language, just empower them and support them. And let's make that area of scrum something that girls want to be a part of. Like, we see how dominant props can be now. You look at the likes of Sarah Bird, like, how many players wouldn't want to be her? So I think, it's very critical about how we use language.
Yeah, and also, I think for girls, and there was some amazing stat that how many of them felt less body conscious when they were on a rugby pitch as opposed to in everyday life. And I think one of the best things about rugby is that it's for every body shape, right? So how was your experience growing up and playing rugby? Because I know you played from a very early age and have family ties, but how has that changed and compared to the way you see young girls being treated in and around the game now?
Well, I grew up playing in an all-boys team, and right at the start, they weren't interested in me being involved. I was pushed out to the wing, and then my dad was like, just go and get the ball. Just, if they're not going to give it to you, go get it. So eventually I worked my way up, built some really good friendships. But I think I was like the only girl in that time now. But whereas you go down to a rugby club now, you've got lots of girls in different age groups. Clubs are really behind their girls sections, so much so that they set up, an individual under sevens girls only, because they're getting so many. And I mean, that is kind of it, only in a few areas. But the point being is that it is really growing. It is attractive, and we're definitely able to access it a lot more. But there's still so much more to be done. And it's things like, you talk about people being comfortable when they're on a pitch. We want them to take that away from rugby as well, and in every part of their life. And you're absolutely right. Rugby has a place for every single person, and that's the unique part about this sport. And I'm not just talking about shape and size, but I'm talking about your talent. There's certain aspects that you need to be able to fit into certain positions on a pitch. And, what is a weakness in a lot of other sports is exactly what a rugby team might need. So, and I think that's the beauty of it. And that's where you can have that empowerment and that kind of growth as an individual and that confidence, knowing that, actually, I've got something that they need, as opposed to, I don't fit into this.
Let's go back again. We're jumping all over the place. So let's go back to February, March, when the league was originally postponed. And obviously the Six Nations had the first hit, was one of the first games to be put on ice, wasn't it? I think just after was it England? No.
It was Wales. It was just after the Wales game was the last game.
That was it, yeah. And then so there's still obviously a couple of Six Nations fixtures to be played later this year. But then, of course, the world went into lockdown, and so Premier 15s also got postponed. How did it feel as someone that's, a big name in the game, Rach, to have it not just postponed, but then to be one of the first top flight women's sports to be cancelled, like the season to be cancelled?
Yeah, I think it was really difficult times for everybody, wasn't it? Along with Tyrrell's then not renewing their sponsorship, it did feel a bit of a worrying time. And you know, all these players, there's 27 international contracts. Everybody else in that league, sacrifices a hell of a lot to be able to commit their time to the league to play. So I think it was devastating that it was just kind of written off. And I think, I saw one of the players put out, some records that players had made, debuts that people had put in, and it's a miss, which is a real shame. But then you have to kind of look at it from the other side of it, the safety of it, the measures put in place, how quickly could we come back and get it up and running? Was it needed in terms of what the world needed at that time? And yeah, I was disappointed, but I think like everybody, you get to look at the bigger picture of what was going on.
Yeah, and of course, like you're saying, there was disappointment, but the safety aspect. But has that cancellation of that season given you a bigger drive, and Quins a bigger drive for the start of next season, wherever that might be?
Yeah, of course. I think, we were in a really good place last season. So we were hoping to make a top 4 space and make a semi-final and potentially meet Saracens again.
Yeah, deja vu.
Maybe take it this year. So yeah, we literally can't wait to get this season up and running. We've got big ambitions about this year. Obviously, we've had some changes with our coaching staff, which has been, a real good inject of energy and a different voice. And yeah, so I think, all the players can't wait for this date to be released that we are going to get going.
I know, and it's just everyone chomping at the bit really for it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you just touched upon there, you've had a lot of off-field changes. Obviously, Gary Street, who you've worked with closely for a very long time, obviously in England setup and Harlequins setup. How big an adjustment period was that when Gary moved, obviously still in the club, but moved to the academy?
Yeah, I think, I had a call from Gary today, so he's never too far away from people. But yeah, I mean, it is an adjustment. It's a great opportunity for Gary to move on into the academy. And like I said, he'll be in and around as much as he can. But Gerard's come in, and I think it's almost a bit of an easier way to come into quite an intimidating group of women to introduce yourself, via phone and then on a Zoom call and then in small groups. But no, he's embedded himself into the Quins way really quickly. He's got some great ideas and ambitions about what he wants from us and the club. But a lot of it we're building on what we've already kind of, established over the last few years. I mean, we've been a great side for a number of years, but we just struggled a little bit right at the end. Yeah, but he's come in and like I said, he's had some real good energy about him, and we've mixed up our game plan a little bit and how we want to play, and it's really exciting. And every single player wants to really represent the club really well.
That's amazing. And it's obviously touched on Gary and Karen built a really strong foundation, but has Jared come in and brought a whole new fresh perspective? Because obviously a bit new to the women's game, and as you're saying, he was introduced to you all virtually. So.
Yeah, bless him. His first virtual didn't go so well. With a lot of freezing and no video footage, so there's a lot more.
What an impression.
We got over that though. We got over it. Yeah, I think what he's recognised, and he's watched every single game of ours, he's recognised that actually we've got a really good template and we've got a really good base of what our game plan has been, how individuals play. But he thinks that there's a lot of things that we could do a lot better as well. So he's kind of come in with some fresh ideas, but he's also come in with making what was good really good and then building on that as well.
Nice. So it's exciting for all of the current crop. So there have been a few changes, obviously, at Harlequins, not just coaching player-wise, and you've had a few players leave, but you haven't had as many coming in, obviously, compared to Wasps, who've added plenty of international quality. Do you believe you've got enough? Do you have confidence in your current crop of players, or do you think Quins need to perhaps replace a few that have flown the nest?
No, I think we're in a really good place. We're an established side. We've got a couple of players that have returned to us, and I think their release will be going out soon. But yeah, I think we're pretty confident. We've got a really good balance. But the other thing is we're thinking about the depth of our squad and the people that we've invested in a number of years. We don't want to lose that. And this kind of new opportunity for them. I mean, we're really fortunate. We have maybe 20 girls daily training, in the daytime, so that are able to maneuver their work or the university. So I think we've got some really good players that are developing still and learning, but they've got some quality around them that's going to help accelerate that. So I'm confident with the players that we've got. It was sad to obviously lose Jada for personal reasons. She needs to stay at home, but I think we've got a real good blend of some seniors and
you young guns, you right.
Yeah, and then we've got that kind of next crop that will be the future of Quins, and we've got to look after them now.
And that's exciting, you saying about the depth, because that's perhaps what Saracens have historically had the slight edge, and they've had such depth in their squad, haven't they? So I guess that can only mean good things for this season for Harlequins.
Well, you hope so, don't you? And I think that's something that Gerard's very confident about bringing from his point of view. He wants to develop every single player at our club. He wants to help everybody reach their potential. He thinks we're good, but he thinks, like I said, that we can do things so much better as an individual, but also as a team, as units. So I think everybody's kind of buzzing on that. And then when you get that kind of excitement, or to work with a coach like that, you then get extra more back from the players. So I think we're in a good place. I mean, time will tell come that first game where everybody is. But I think what's overriding is that we're a set squad and we've played a lot together, and that will hopefully work in our favour.
Yeah, nice. So you touch on Quins TV being tested and the pilot with the fans. How different do you think it could be going back without any fans?
For the women's game?
Yeah, for the women's game, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think, some teams, unfortunately, that's not going to be too far from the norm. We're still at that stage where we're still building crowds. I think some clubs did it brilliantly last year. We're really disappointed because we love to get the game changer where we get as many people in. But, I really think, full stop, the government needs to have another look at allowing fans back in. Because I was at that test pilot, and I can honestly say I felt really safe being there. It was like one-way systems only, sanitising everywhere, face masks on. You weren't allowed to leave your seat unless you're going to the toilet. You had drink service come to your chair.
God,
so, really, yeah. I mean, and really, really safe. People are being there. They're being sensible. They're not, taking the measures out of their own hands. And it's just kind of, why can't the government see that people are going to be sensible in that respect? And I just think we need to get people coming and watch. And we were slowly, Saracens, Worcester, Harlequins, who else, kind of Gloucester, really building their own fan base.
Yeah.
And it's worrying that we've kind of had to leave it there, and then we're now going to not have anyone, and then we've got to start again. I mean, hopefully they'll all come flooding back, so they're desperate to get out and watch rugby. But I hope that we can find some form of way. Or the other end is we need somebody to broadcast it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a huge thing, isn't it, at the moment? That women's sport, we don't want it to, across the board drop off. There's been a huge momentum in it, and rugby in particular. People are seeing, how incredible the game is, and we don't want that drop off. So, do you think that, of course, broadcasting could help that? You look at the WSL and the women's cricket; they're being broadcast at the moment. Or do you think clubs could potentially try and take it into their own hands and stream it, just so fans can still access, the quality and watch the game?
100%. I don't know how that all works, whether you're allowed to or not, but I think if there's an opportunity to, then why aren't we? If Quins are able to stream our games, then I'm pretty confident that we're going to get people watching them. And then all of a sudden you've got some figures to then go to a broadcast with and say, look, this is what we're getting. This is the advertisement that you could attach to it for a commercial point of view. So I think we've got to find a way to get the game being shown, because otherwise it's just going to make it really difficult coming back.
Yeah, and it's even more of an uphill battle. So I've touched upon, a few changes within your squad and the wider league. But what do you think to the sevens players? Obviously, you've had the funding cut for that, and so a ton of them are coming over to the league. Do you think that will raise the standard again of the league, or what do you think the impact will be of some of those sevens players coming back in?
Yeah, well, I think, obviously I'm devastated that the programme had to at the moment be put kind of on hold, because I know that all of those players have big ambitions about going to the Olympics, and we hope that it kind of turns itself back around and they get the opportunity to do that. But I think 100% every single player that plays in the sevens, for irrelevant of what their rugby is, they're coming in fit, strongest, really strong skill set. And so all that's going to do is elevate the league for sure, especially Wasps.
Yeah, it's back to few of them, haven't they?
Most of the team.
I tell you, the speed of Wasps next season could be dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. They're not allowed to have the ball. But yeah, no, I think it will massively elevate the game. I think it also adds, you know, opportunity for Simon Middleton to look at players that he wouldn't have had the opportunity to, which is brilliant for the game, because again, it's going to strengthen the senior England side as well. So I think it's only going to be a good thing for the league.
Yeah. Well, Rach, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to the Women's Rugby Show this afternoon, and hopefully we'll be seeing you pitchside very soon.
No, thank you for having me, and yeah, I do hope to see you and Adam and the team on pitchside.